Hi, we are back. This is Anjali and this is Sam. And as you remember, Sam is our in house expert and pet whisperer, as we call him. But one conversation that we kept dipping into but did not take on fully was the conversation of whether you should adopt or shop. Now, I know this is a huge issue, a controversial issue, and people have different opinions about it. But listen, we are not here to discuss the moral aspect of it. Is that true? Or maybe you have a moral take also. But I feel that in this issue, it's important to understand what are the pros and cons of both and then make a decision according to what is right for you. So, just beginning the conversation, you personally, as an expert also, what do you think is best suited for, let's say, a first-time parent?
See, there is not a universal answer to it.
Okay.
Again, before you ever go out to buy a specific product, you ask yourself what is it that you're looking for. A lot of people that I know who adopt dogs are genuinely the most sensitive humans who are perturbed by the condition of these animals, of the voiceless, and are willing to undertake this Herculean but the most humane act, right? Every life deserves respect and equality, and to that extent they should also be treated as the first amongst equals, right? We humans have taken over this planet. There is nothing that the state can do about so many animals, especially in a developing country such as ours. So I understand why there are so many animals, and I completely get it why they should get a home. However, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Sometimes adult or adolescent indie dogs have very peculiar habits, very peculiar demands, and it might be difficult for a first time parent to adhere with that kind of energy. Think of it like this. Sometimes
I'm interrupting you here,
Sure.
but let me just tell you, because you are the expert, but I have friends who have adopted indie dogs, and I have seen in each one of them there has been some or the other issue. One dog had anxiety. The other dog was aggressive towards everyone except for the owner itself. And one dog actually was extremely calm and easygoing and everything, but hated to be left alone. So these are three cases.
So think of it like this. You might think that Indies are not a breed. They themselves are now a breed. It's a very heterogeneous gene pool. Before I go into their shortcomings, I would like to say they're one of the sturdiest dogs that you can have. Vaccination, no vaccination, deworming, no deworming. They are hardy as anything. They are beautiful souls, and I would check you here. I think you're wrong. You yourself used to feed Tinny, if you remember. And one day, I don't know if the government took him or somebody took him into his own house. He was the calmest soul ever.
He was the calmest soul.
Yeah,
he would come into the house and not disturb anything.
Yes. So you can't generalize, but also because you can't generalize, but by virtue of their gene pool also, you can't pinpoint and predict. It's like a fishbowl. You put your hand in and what comes out, right? I'm not saying any one of those deserves a chance at life or a good quality life any lesser than the other, but it is your luck, right? Because there is no predictability to the gene pool. The parent, you might have interacted, for example, it could be a indie in your locality, right?
Yeah, because I did have those. I'd seen the whole lineage for the past 20 years.
Yes, but you can't still predict that because the gene pool is completely, a result of an outcross after an outcross.
Yeah, we don't know both the parents. That's
even if you know both the parents, you would not be able to predict because they have not been bred to a program. They have never been, think of it like this. In that same litter, for example, there is one aggressive child and then there is one which is extremely docile and very happy and very outgoing. You wouldn't know which is whom. And there is no way to predict that. You would not be able to see at 6 weeks, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, no. And that behavioral change can happen at any point in time. It's just that they deserve a chance at life. But
But if
don't lose patience.
if I'm capable of taking
Yes.
care of those needs,
Yes.
then I should get it.
Yes.
Let's say I have a small baby in the house, small child,
Yeah.
then maybe I would choose not
I
to
would,
do it.
I would not. I would not put a qualifier to it, Anjali. And the
Okay.
rationale for it is you don't know where that human is operating from. So I would never say no to anybody. However, I'm just going to say the challenge may be bigger than an animal that whose behavior you can predict. That's all that I'm going to say. The predictability of the behavior is something that you would not be able to bank on, as a result of which you should be prepared. Trainers, socialization, car anxiety, traveling, you'll have to work on it, because nobody has ever selected their parents on the basis of a behavioral set. What good breeding, and I underline fact is good breeding. In good breeding, for a particular breed, things would have been selected by breeders. Now you might think, how would that happen? Think of it like this. For example, if there is a very docile breed, for example, like
A lab? Is lab considered a docile breed?
yeah, maybe you would call a pug, right?
Yeah, pug.
Yeah,
Super
a
docile.
pug, a Shih Tzu, a well-bred Shih Tzu.
Shih
Suddenly you have this one very aggressive, very bitey dog there, right? And the breeder then says, it's a beautiful life, it'll live with me, it'll enjoy all the niceties of life, but I will not breed this animal, because the chances of passing on this aggression, which is not contemporaneous to the breed standard, there is a process of elimination that you have done, right? But only very respectable breeders would do that. The shame would be a lot of breeders who do not care about breed characteristics, about predictability of health, conformation, temperament. They will not invest into that, and there, again, you are simply placing a bet on a genetic pool which is supposed to act a certain way, but you're not guaranteed of it.
Okay. So you were saying predictability of the behavior of the dog is an important factor.
Very important factor.
As far as taking Indy is concerned.
Yeah.
But then.
And the effort that goes into it to correct certain behaviors, correct certain anxiety related problems. If there has been any abuse, unfortunately, to that animal, I remember.
The rescue dogs are extremely traumatized.
I remember once, I'll not name the company, it was a very large pharmaceutical company, but they were doing some research on dogs, and there were, a lot of beagles which used to stay in very inhumane conditions. Something
this is
happened.
in India.
This was in India. And there was a very large group, of people who were very sensitized to animal needs. They went, made a petition, this, that, and they also did not want the bad publicity that came along with it. So they decided to give up these dogs for adoption. And one of my friends came up to me, and it was a beagle, and we thought, what could go wrong? But I don't know whatever was happening there in that research facility. But this animal, for the smallest of sounds, it could be something happening in the kitchen, would get so traumatized, he would howl at the top of his voice and try to hide under things which was so small that would not take his body, and he would shout, and you had to calm him down, and you always had to make sure that there was some music playing in his room so that he got acclimatized. I'm not saying that family, I think, did the best job that they could, but that it's not easy is what I'm saying.
Yeah, handling trauma is never easy.
Yeah, and you don't know who's coming from what trauma. Think of,
they can't even express their trauma. That's
they're not even, see, nature has told them to guard their weak points very differently. So if you were to walk around, in our cities, and you try to see a 3-week puppy, 4-week puppy who has nobody around, maybe the mother has, met with an accident or something, try to pick him up. That little thing will try to bite you. So if somebody says Indies bite, I think they are terribly wrong. What they've not understood, that particular specimen has probably seen some kind of abuse, some kind of misbehavior, somebody thwarting them with a stick or whatever.
Self-defense.
Yes, and so it will take an animal will always trust you. However, if it comes from a position of security, the trust is instantaneous. And sometimes it could take months and maybe sometimes years before that trust can be built. So, you should just know what you're getting into. Buyer beware.
So there are many people who would say, but that's the whole idea is.
Yes.
You are supposed to take on that trauma, you are supposed to adopt, and you are supposed to find a space for that one individual or being or soul which does not have a place in this world.
Absolutely, I genuinely believe that this planet was not ours. We are, I think, one of the youngest, mammal species to exist as on date. And they have been existent here forever. It is their land before it is ours. And to that extent, even if you cannot, think of it like this, even if you're not ready for an animal or something, there's so much food wastage that happens, especially in Indian homes. We express love through food, let it not go in a dustbin. Even if, you made a meal, you made paneer, you made chicken, whatever you made, wash it, wash the spice away. But it is a lot better than them scavenging into dustbins and then getting sick and then dying out of an infection. Give them that food. Make one neighbor, one dog from your locality to be your neighbor. Let him sit on your porch. Give him, some tatters to sleep on. Give him a bowl of water. I'm not saying don't get them in. Get them in if you have the wherewithal to do that, right? If you have a farmland, you don't need guard dogs. People keep asking me, I need a guard dog. I've never understood that term. Please get an Indie. I'm not saying get it only for that purpose. An Indie is a beautiful dog to raise at home as well. However, are you ready for that investment? I keep thinking about Tinny. Where is he? In whose house is he? He used to love the freedom of scouting the streets. You have to also understand, a lot of them are very happy with doing what it is like
being out there.
Out there. There are two kinds of people. One kind of people like their routine, their job, they like the routine and the discipline with which they function professionally. And then there is this set of people who would love to do a freelance job but cannot be stuck to a 9-to-5 job. You have to understand what you're getting into. Don't compel an animal to be here. If you bring in an Indie and the Indie is unwilling to settle, is distressed, figure out a better way of doing it.
That brings me to a conversation that we had in our previous video about whether you're ready for a pet or not.
Yeah.
And I feel if you start taking care of an Indie in your neighborhood, that could be a moment of realization for you where you can at least figure it out whether I can build, I think that was our point number 3, whether we can build a communication bridge between an animal and yourself or not. Maybe bring yourself into that position first, and then later on if you...
Absolutely.
So take care of someone around your home.
Absolutely. I'm not an educated psychotherapist, but I can tell you, when you actually, when you've actually gone to a marriage counselor, I think it's already too late, right? There are signs in every household which are writ large. What the other person likes, dislikes, everything is there. Communication is just not verbal. In fact, the strongest form of communication is non-verbal, and I genuinely believe that. So you don't need to speak the same language. Think of it like this: if you were to be in Japan, you were in the US, you were in Siberia, you don't know the language, but you would understand pleasure and displeasure of another individual just by looking at it. How does that happen? You would assume that the cues of us as a species are very similar, only the language is dissimilar. No, the cues for virtually every animal, especially mammals, they're writ large. An animal will tell you when he's unhappy, when he's distressed, what he's liking, what he's disliking, and they can be read from a mile away. So yes, build your trust with animals, see how you do around them. If they lick your face, what do you feel about it? Just holding their hand, what kind of an emotion is evoked? Are you a germophobic? Do you feel that, this is not what I can handle? Then don't bring an animal home. Because the worst kind of thing that you can do to an animal is in the first few years when he looks beautiful and fluffy and happy and those jumping and bouncy ears, you bring an animal in and then, suddenly it just becomes a chore, and after a period of time a responsibility that you never bargained for, and eventually you let go. You will drop a dog.
But you did bargain for it. That's the sad part. You just did not realize
the animal did not have. And this is not about Indies or purebreds or anything. Any animal. That animal had no choice in you picking him up from wherever you picked him or her up and brought him or her into your own house. And then one day, like we see in these cruel videos, you will pick up that animal and go and drop him in the middle of a highway for the animal to figure it out. An animal who has never picked his own meal outside, he has never scavenged, he's never hunted. You think that animal will be in a position to survive? Oh my goodness, So people should make those decisions with a very heavy hand, with a very heavy conscience.
Okay. Yeah. Now coming back to the entire debate we are having about breeding versus getting an Indie.
Yeah.
Now, what is the advantage of bringing in a dog whose breeding or antecedents or ancestors I know about?
I instead of generalizing this answer, I will break this into two subsets as well. Okay. See, there's genetic profile to an animal, and then there is an environmental profile to the animal, right? When you're bringing in a purebred, yes, As a thumb rule, you can expect certain predictability in the behavior. Let me give you an example. If you have a Doberman or a Rottweiler at home, if there is somebody who walks in straight into your house, assuming your main door is open, walks in, they are not going to be welcoming.
The dogs.
The dogs are not going to be welcoming. They will watch it out for you. They will, in all likelihood, alarm the intruder. What is that? That is generally a breed standard, right? Then there will be those loving cuddle balls like golden retrievers. You try stopping any golden retriever on the street, he will meet you like you are his best friend. He is so ecstatic to meet you. You as a owner, you went to the other room, you come back after 5 minutes, that entire song and dance will happen again, right? If there is a sporty breed, you have a Dalmatian at home, the sight of a ball, the dog would be standing at the door and will wait there for eternity. What I'm trying to get at is, as a thumb rule, there is predictability. However, there is nothing called a foolproof genetic profile, right? These are not engineered products. And I would urge to all your viewers to not think of it like this. Please don't think of it as a commodity. Please don't think that money can buy you this pleasure. You don't need money to have that pleasure. You're either a blessed human being who can have that by virtue of your own actions or not. However, coming back to this situation, in the same litter, you will have sometimes maybe a timid child, an aggressive child, a very friendly child, a very outgoing child. It should not happen. A good breeding program brings, uniformity of health, of looks, of temperament.
Okay.
That is the end goal of a good breeder. So step number 2 should be, after you have zeroed in on the general characteristics that work for you for a breed, then research who the top breeders of that particular breed are, and please don't go to anybody else. The Kennel Club of India is a very, very transparent agency. Please go there. Just seek a recommendation. Could you please, in my area, I'm in Chennai, I'm in Jammu, wherever I am, could you give me
They're easily approachable?
Very easily. The number is available on the internet, and it is a not-for-profit organization. Everybody who's there is genuinely working very, very hard for the upliftment of these breeds. A lot of people also ask, why do you need breeds? The answer to it is predictability. Please go out into the wilderness. Please see somebody who has livestock. They have a German Shepherd there. They have a specific breed type. Your house is at an area where you need a watchdog. You need a service dog. You need company. You're a solitary camper in a big city. Everybody has a purpose. If there is a specific purpose and you have a specific set of needs which have been ironed out, identify a breed, identify some top breeders, have a conversation with them.
Okay.
And they would be very, very happy to place a very healthy, temperamentally sane, beautiful looking baby at your house. But don't be fooled by simply somebody telling you that. Please walk, see with your own 2 eyes, see the child nurse with the mother. It is very, very important when you're buying a puppy.
Do your due diligence is
Yes.
what you've been saying.
Yeah.
Okay. So, this conversation, at least that's what I feel, was not intended to discourage you from adopting.
Yeah.
In fact, I would say that if you feel that you can give that right environment, care and time to a dog with trauma, because most of them will come with some sort of a trauma, even pups,
Yep.
they will come with some sort of trauma. If you have that ability, then go ahead and parent an indie dog.
That's
but if you do not, if you have even this much slightest of doubt, then I would play it safe, at least.
I would not. I would say, don't get him or her. There are so many of them. Give them a meal, give them
Yes.
vaccinations.
There are other ways of parenting other than bringing them home.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And there are many of us who are feeding dogs outside, although there are some now issues, legal issues. But, as they get
There is always an easier way to
simplified.
do it, Anjali. If there are people who have a problem in this juncture, take them a little away. It's
Yes.
fine.
There
Just
are
figure
ways
it
of
out. Just
simplifying it.
figure it out. What is the best way that you can do this as your seva? Consider it to be whatever, charity, zakat, as you look at it. Please do your absolute best to make sure that their life is of some quality, right?
So again, once again, if you have any questions, you can write them in the comment, and Sam will definitely try to answer them if they're technical questions. Any other responses you have suggestions, do mention, tag us, and if possible, share this video with other people so that they also know what we are talking about. See you later.